What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the Last Flight Show. I'm your host, Jake Cline, and obviously Matt Hicks is not here today. Instead, we have the second option, the runner-up.
Good Lord.
No, this is my big little brother Zane. Zane had a crazy season. So I figured I would bring him on the show today and have an in-person guest. The last couple of shows have been phone calls, and it's nice to have somebody actually on the show. So today is actually Wednesday, which is part of the reason why Matt's not here is because we normally record on Fridays around 10 o'clock, but I'm leaving on vacation, so I won't be here Friday, so we decided to record tonight. So it's about 6 o'clock right now. But anyway, so this show is going to cover Zane went to North Carolina this year, which we went there a couple years back, and we had really good luck. Probably the best luck you could have as a turkey hunter.
No kidding.
And then, so we're going to talk about Zane's hunt in North Carolina. We're going to talk about Zane's unfortunate miss this year, but we'll also talk about my miss this year. Unfortunately, I didn't fill a tag this year because of my miss, and Zane was able to capitalize on an opportunity later in the season, which we're going to talk about that story of Zane's bird as well. So, with anything else that you want to talk about before we get this show rolling?
Not really.
Do you want to say hi, introduce yourself?
You already did that.
That's true. All right, guys, we'll be right back with this episode. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Last Flight Show, brought to you by Last Flight Calls and Gear. This episode starts now.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Like I said in the intro, we're going to talk about Zane's North Carolina hunt. We're going to talk about Zane's miss this year. We're going to talk about my miss, and then Zane's bird. Zane's the bird that Zane killed this year. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to go into detail. I want to cover all this other stuff first, and then we'll just leave the story for the end. But it's a pretty remarkable story, and there's going to be a lot of turkey hunters out there that are going to be able to relate to this story and this style of hunting. But first, let's get the North Carolina hunt and knocked out. So you guys left on was it Thursday?
We left a Wednesday night.
Wednesday night,
about midnight. Well, no, it was Thursday. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Left Thursday at midnight. We couldn't hunt till Saturday and Sunday. Saturday was opening day. All week we were getting pictures of turkeys sent to us from trail cam pictures and everything. And like Jake said, we went down there 2 or 3 years ago, and we had one of the best turkey hunts.
Let's before we get going too far, let's talk about that hunt.
Oh God!
So not to interrupt this story, but it's a story. It's a hunt that you just really can't not tell. So a few years back, we hauled the pop-up camper down. It was me, Zane, and our dad, and really the goal of that hunt was just to get data bird. Like that first morning, we wanted to get data bird. And in the area that we were turkey hunting, there's not been a lot of turkey hunters. And there's birds everywhere. So we had got set up the first morning, and there was 2 birds that were gobbling on the limb, and they were quite a ways away from us. I would say probably 250 yards across the field. They'd flown down on the other side. There's a little creek that runs through there. They'd flown down on the other side of that creek, and we couldn't see them. They would just gobble really just at the crows that were going over. Like they weren't being very vocal. So Zane and I tried to cut basically at each other as 2 excited hens cutting. And next thing you know, the birds had flown the creek and they were headed right to us. And with Dad being the primary shooter, Zane was there for backup. And it just so happened that right off the rip,
2 of them.
2 of them just come straight across this field. And they got into the decoys, and Dad and Zane doubled. And
Best part of that is they both come across the field and they switched last second.
Yeah.
And 1, 2, 3, we shot at the same exact time. Heard only one shot, and I ended up getting the family record, 12-inch beard.
It was literally like you sounded like one gunshot. I don't know how you guys did that.
It was cool. First time we've ever doubled up with Dad.
Well, that was the first time we'd actually ever seen Dad kill a bird.
That is true.
And so for it to be the first time we've seen Dad kill a bird, to be a double, It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, that was.
But then, so we get those birds, and that hunt probably lasted maybe an hour.
Yeah, I think we were done within an hour.
Yeah. So we grabbed their birds, loaded them up, and then we went to another farm, and we were able to spot these turkeys way out in the middle of a field. And there were so many. There was probably 15 turkeys there.
No,
it was crazy. But there was only one turkey strutting. And so I was up to bat at this point, and I'm not much of a reaper. I don't know. I like the fact of calling them in, that challenge of doing that. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of excitement in reaping. It can be very fun, but I just don't do that kind of thing. But anyway, I did have it was like a half decoy that had a real fan on it. And what I'd done was I crawled out, and I'd stuck it in the ground, just so they could see, because we couldn't get decoys out. There was too many birds, too many eyes. There was no way we could have gotten decoys out. And it was so windy that I don't think that they really would have heard our calling at all. So, I belly crawled out and stuck that strutting decoy, that half strut decoy in the field. And, I started behind a gravel rock, like a little gravel pile. Yeah. And that wasn't working because I don't think that they can necessarily see the decoy. So I ended up belly crawling out just a little bit, and sticking the decoy right in front of me, and I was laying right behind it. And the whole freaking flock came.
Every single bird.
Every bird. So I'm like laying there with my shotgun, and I'm starting to go cross-eyed at this point because I'm like staring at this bird. And if you stare at something so long that it just kind of starts moving around in your eyes, I don't know if that's just me or
I don't think that's ever happened to me, but
could be me. But I had the hens were rocking right next to me, the Jakes. And I let him get about 30 yards.
Yep.
And so we had killed 3 birds in 3 hours.
Yeah.
By the time
I think it was before 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So we were done.
And it was 3 hours, like by the time we started hunting. So like your guys' hour, then the hour to get there and get set up, and then it seemed like an hour for them to come all the way across that field. It was probably only like 30 minutes, but it felt like an hour. But still, to this day, is our most memorable experience, because we've never done that before. Obviously, we've never seen Dad kill a bird. That's kind of one of those people that he really doesn't care if he feels a tag. He doesn't care if he carries a gun. He just wanted to be out there with us. And when I started hunting, I was probably 7, 8 years old. And since then, it's just been all about the kids. And then, obviously, as Zane had grown older, he kind of took that spot as we started hunting on our own. And then now Zane's moving off and hunting with his buddies. So it was a really cool moment for us, the 3 of us, to be together. And for something like that to happen. Definitely a trip that we'll never forget. But let's circle back to your hunt this year in North Carolina. Totally different hunt.
Yeah, no, that was terrible. Get up Saturday morning, didn't hear a single gobble. I think it was Saturday midday, we went for a drive, found a field right behind the property we were hunting with, I want to say it was 15 hens and 2 longbeards. And I don't know, just that whole day we couldn't strike up a bird. We ended up going, talking to other people, trying to strike up on some other properties. So we made a game plan for Sunday morning. We got on the edge of the woods, and the 2 gobblers in the back of the woods just started gobbling, and we tried to get close. They flew the crick again, went out in the open field, and we couldn't really do anything with them. But when you have 2 longbeards and 15 hens.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, if it's early in the season, they're all henned up, you're not going to, no matter what calls or how many people are calling, you're not going to get them off those hens.
Yeah, and there was a ton of hens from the.
It's crazy down there. I mean, every field, it's like deer around us, like around Ohio and stuff like that. It's like deer for them, but it's all turkeys. Nobody hunts them. They're all like, oh yeah, we hate the turkeys. They eat all of our deer corn.
But then nobody hunts them.
But nobody hunts them. You can drive around and see 100 turkeys in a day.
Which it's crazy to me because you would think that with them not seeing very much, but I'm sure there's places in North Carolina that do get hunted.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure a lot of out of state, like public ground, gets hunted.
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
things. But yeah, I mean, you would think that birds that have not been pressured all that much would be it would be different. Like they would just come in on a string. But I guess if you have 15 hens to one longbeard,
Yeah, no kidding.
he's probably just out there like, what is this crazy woman doing? in
Yeah,
there?
why is she coming to me?
Yeah,
exactly.
You called in a hen.
We did call in a hen. We did have a hen come into the decoys. That was crazy. We snuck out on this edge of this field, and I hit the call, actually the last flight slate call, and that was pretty cool because it was the first time I've used it. And I hit it, and here comes a hen. We heard her fly the crick behind us, and she came right into the decoys, and then it was kind of cool to listen to her because everybody talks about how turkeys, they can change their vocals and go louder and quieter. And it was cool because as soon as I called, she flew the crick, came out, was yelping real loud, aggressive. As soon as she seen the decoys, silent, like real quiet, just real light yelps. And then she ended up walking away, seeing those other birds in the field, and just lit up again, cutting, yelping real loud, like you would hear in a call shop. It was just crazy just to see it in person.
Yeah.
Because you hear people talking about it, and you're like, well, I don't know how they do that. And then you see it, and you're like, well, maybe I should change my calling strategies for that.
Well, and a lot of times, too, like people, Matt and I had the conversation on an earlier podcast to where it's just like, I would say probably 75 to 80% of the birds that we have killed over the years have been because the hens have come in. It's not because the longbeards have, we've had a couple screaming longbeards come in, but I would say 75 to 80% of the time, it's because the longbeard is following the hen. And when you are a new hen that they've not heard before, intruding on their area, then it's a lot of times those hens will come in cutting. Like the day that Dad killed his bird this year, we had the hen come running in. She came out of nowhere. The day that, we were out photographing, Ashley was out photographing turkeys. There was a hen and some jakes out there, and then it just took one random hen to show up in the corner, and this other hen absolutely lost her mind, and they ran all the way across that field. So it's just, that's another thing to think about too is, even though you're calling at a turkey, and we had this actually happen to us this year when we took Braley out, even though you're calling to a turkey and they're not responding, there could be a hen working her way into you, and he's not going to be very far behind her. And we actually had a longbeard bust us this year just because we just weren't, we didn't know he was there.
Yeah, I think one of the funnest things is making that hen mad with that gobbler. And you can just sit there and make her mad and call her into the decoys because he's behind her. Yeah. It's kind of like a deer. If you see a doe coming in, there's a buck going to be right behind her. So that's kind of cool.
Didn't you and Dad at some point see a hen strut?
Yeah, we actually did. That was
years ago.
That was like five or six.
That was probably the year you killed your first bird.
No, that was the second year. That was right after it. Yep.
Okay.
Because that was the day we were out at a different property up north.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It was the craziest thing ever. I want to see one gobble. That's kind of like that bearded hen that I've seen this year. Yeah. Just never seen one in person before. Yeah. She comes right in the decoys, and I don't want to shoot her because the eggs and everything, but good Lord, that's once in a lifetime bird.
Makes you wonder, like, how many times we've heard gobbles that we've said, "Oh, there's a Jake," and it's not a Jake. Yeah. Because there's videos out there of it happening. You can get on YouTube right now and watch a video of a hen gobbling, but it just sounds like a young Jake, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
So there could be times where we're just like, there's a Jake, and it's not. It's a hen.
Getting all excited. Hey, here's a Jake.
So we're gonna fast forward. Zane, they didn't fill any tags in North Carolina.
Nope.
So I think next year I'm going to be a part of this trip, but we're not
going to go later.
Yeah, we're not going to go
because opening weekend.
Well, because their opening weekend in North Carolina is the same weekend as our youth season here in Ohio. So I've got 2 kids now that are killing birds, so there's no way that I'm going to be able to miss that weekend with them. And then the second weekend would be our opener.
Yep.
And we have a tradition that we hunt together every opening day. I've hunted with Dad every opening day since I had started turkey hunting, and obviously Zane has joined as he's gotten older. So it's been, at least for the last 10 years, we've not missed an opening day of turkey season, if not more.
If not more, yeah.
So at least with you, with me, it's been like 23 years or something like that we've not missed an opening day. And we do that for deer season too. But what we'll do is we'll go, depending on where we're hunting. You know, if we were hunting up north where Zane and Dad live, then we would go to stay at their house, and then we would get up in the morning. And but because actually all of our turkey properties are south, with me, then they come over and we stay the night, and usually we'll watch some turkey hunting videos or whatever it might be. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we look forward to on opening weekend. It doesn't matter if it's rain, shine, tornado, hail. Like we're going out at least for an hour. And I think was it raining this year? No, it was.
Yeah, it did rain this year.
Yeah, it stormed like crazy. Actually.
Yeah, you guys went out that evening prior and found our blinds blown across the field.
But yeah, we did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was nasty.
I had sticks in the ground and tie these blinds up, but. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's rain, shine, whatever it is. We're going opening day, so we can't go that weekend, North Carolina, because that's a big thing here. So I think we're gonna go the following weekend.
Yep, third or fourth.
The third weekend.
Well, third because the fourth weekend they'd be out.
Yeah,
I think it goes out like first week of May.
Yeah, so we're gonna go try to. Which it sounds crazy because here, like when we're dealing with late season birds, it's really not fun. Like it's not a turkey hunting that, I mean, I enjoy turkey hunting. I enjoy going out and hunting them, but it's late season birds are not very enjoyable for me. I like to run and gun. I'm not a very patient turkey hunter. I never have been, never will be. I like to hear turkeys gobbling. If turkeys aren't gobbling, then I feel like I'm deer hunting them. And I get too bored. But there are situations to where it can be really fun. And we're going to get into that here in a minute with Zane's bird, and my miss. Both of them were the same type of hunt, only, Zane was able to fill his tag and I suck. But first, before we give Zane so much praise and glory, we're going to talk about Zane's miss. I'm going to go ahead and start this story off, and then because it's probably too hard for you to talk about.
It is. It is.
So we started the morning. It was perfect. We knew where the birds were roosted at because of previous hunts. So we slip into this ridge and we get set up at first, and the birds are good, probably 100 yards away from us on the roost. Yeah. And so we know where they're roosted at. So we decide to pack up, and we decided to get a little bit closer. But we got more up on the ridge. There's a little path that comes up the ridge. I know these birds like to bring up the hill. And this bird spent all morning back and forth. And there was probably 3 or 4 of them that were roosted together.
Yeah.
But this bird was the one that was staying close to us. And he worked back and forth. And then all of a sudden he shut up. And I'm like, oh shoot, did we bump him? Did he see us making a move? Like what happened? Because at this point he sounded like he was down below the ridge. And so the problem is we didn't really know if he was still in the tree, because if he was roosted in a tree that's, if the tree's well lower than the ridge and he's roosted straight, like he just pitched off that ridge right into that tree, then he may sound like he's lower, but he's still up in the roost. But then as we hear that rain?
I do know.
It is downpouring right now.
Know.
Anyway, the bird's gobbling, and we finally decide and realize he is coming. And then so he pokes his head up, and I hear Zane, say, "Hey, I see him." And so then I can't see him right away, and he's working up this ridge, and he just the slowest ever.
That was the slowest bird I've ever. Yeah.
And I don't know, when we first set up, we had decoys out.
And then we left them behind to make the move.
Yeah, and I don't really typically like to use decoys in the timber because they like to hang up sometimes, and I want them to have to search for us. However, looking back on it, this timber is like a wide open timber. And so I'm thinking maybe had we put some decoys out, it might have been a little bit different. But this bird gobbled and gobbled and gobbled, and all he would do is he would just stay just out of range on the ridge. And all he needed to do was break. And so at this time, I can see Zane's on him, and I look to my right, and there's a buck, 10 yards. And I'm like, Zane, don't move. Because if this deer blows, we're screwed. And the deer kind of looked at us, and I was filming this, and at the same time, like I had deer in the film and turkey in the film, like it was wild. And there for the while, we didn't even know where the bird was unless the deer was there and watching them.
Yeah, the deer was watching them, but I do recall you saying, "Zane, don't move," and I had no clue what was coming. And then all of a sudden, just down my barrel, just to the right of my barrel, here comes this deer at like 10 yards, and I'm just like, oh no, because this bird's standing in front of me just gobbling. He would walk a couple steps, gobble again, and it was just crazy.
Yeah. And then
Slowest bird ever, though.
well, and it was there was more behind it too.
Yeah.
So I mean, they definitely ran after you shot, but so the bird looked. I will say this: the bird looked a lot closer. Now, let's talk about the gun situation. You've never had a problem with this before.
No.
Because the birds are normally within 20 yards
yeah.
when you're
in the
shooting
decoys.
them.
In the decoys,
and the decoys. Now, when you get out to
40 yards,
40
50
yards,
maybe. I think he was 50 or more. I mean, after we walked it, it was crazy. But with that gun, I will never shoot 50 yards again.
Well, I asked him after the hunt. I was like, "What kind of choke you got in that thing?"
Oh yeah, modified. No. Yeah, it is modified.
Yeah, modified. I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you doing this?"
I didn't have a full choke. I thought I did, but
So he could not find a full. After this, he was hell bent on making sure that he had a full choke
for the rest of the season.
For the rest of the season, and I mean, obviously forever.
Yeah,
he could not find one for his gun, so he went out and bought a new gun.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. Spent an hour looking for a choke tube in Cabela's, and finally just turned around and said, "Let me see that gun right there." And then I looked at it. All right, I'll take it.
No choke tube, buy a new gun.
Yep, exactly. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to kill a turkey.
But I had told him, I was like, listen, if you think he's close enough, kill him as soon as he pokes his head up, because at this point he was almost going to go behind us. Mm-hmm. And he did. He poked his head up. Zane shot and fly away turkey.
Yeah,
but
in the video you can see how wide the pattern was.
Yeah, that was insane.
But kind of like what you were talking about earlier, when you're staring down a barrel of a gun so long, I mean, stuff don't start bouncing around, but it's just something that's far away looks so much closer.
Yeah.
And that's what I think happened. I mean, he looked so close, and, well, he wasn't. So.
Well, see, and for me, sometimes it's the opposite. Like, if I'm looking at something so long, it almost feels like, is it further away than what I think it is? Or is it closer to me? I had that problem with my bird. But looking back at your bird, your miss, right behind where we were sitting, Ashley and I had found that hen laying on that nest the weekend. Well, it would have been 2 weekends probably after. So I almost wondered, like, he knew that there was a hen that was using the top of that ridge.
Yeah.
And so that's what he was looking for when he came. Had we had a hen decoy out there, he probably would have broken.
Yeah, a game changer. I mean, he didn't see nothing, so he just hung up on that little shelf. Like everybody talks about, turkeys will walk that shelf on a ridge, and they won't walk the top of it.
Yeah, and we
walk that shelf.
Really didn't see his whole body. We only saw half his body the whole time.
No, we didn't know how big his beard was. I'd seen him gobble, I knew he was a long beard, and then after watching the video, we're like, that's a big bird.
I had seen his beard, because I remember telling you it's a long beard. Mm-hmm. I had seen his beard when he first started coming up the ridge. But the problem was I never saw all of it. Like, I could see probably this much of it.
Yeah.
And then he would go into strut, and then I could see the full fan. But he gobbled so much.
Yeah. I mean, that was the coolest experience though, because of wide open timber, beautiful morning.
It's gorgeous.
It was
there,
gorgeous.
Dude. It is
like
beautiful.
Everything about it was perfect.
Yeah. It would be a textbook perfect turkey. Like, if you could imagine the best turkey hunt you've ever been on, as far as scenery goes, as far as the bird, the gobbling, the deer, just everything, I don't think you can get better than that.
You can shoot better. You
can definitely shoot better and get better at that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's move on to my bird, and this is going to go back to me saying I don't like to hunt late season turkeys. So late season turkeys, and we've been noticing this the last couple of weeks, is that they don't gobble. Like, they'll gobble their heads off on the roost. But once they hit the ground, nothing. And so really the last time we heard a bird gobble on the ground, or at least me, was the bird that you killed, or that Jake that we almost killed because it sounded like a longbeard.
Oh, yeah.
and that was the last bird that I've really heard gobble, especially late. We heard they were gobbling that Friday before you killed yours. The day before you killed yours, yeah.
They were out there just gobbling their heads off.
And that's a whole other story. But and we'll get into that after this. I want to save that for last. I don't want to get too much into that story because the whole thing just is an incredible story. Yeah. So, but see, my bird, Dad and I had slipped out. Let's see here. It's Wednesday now. It was Saturday morning, I think. Either Friday or Saturday.
I think it was Saturday.
It was Saturday because Matt and I went Friday.
Yep.
So Saturday morning, Dad and I slipped out, and we had seen this turkey use this particular field every day right around 9:30. And any time that we had hunted elsewhere and then we went to this farm later in the morning, that's the first place he gobbles. But the thing is he never comes into a call. He'll gobble and let you know where he's at, but then it's almost like as soon as he gobbles, he walks away. I don't know that he's call shy. I don't know what his deal is, because he'll gobble every time, and then he'll walk away, and he'll go to the other side of the river. So the plan was that we were going to set up in this field that we had seen him in the morning before, and we were just going to basically wait him out. And Dad and I sat up, and both of us, Dad not so much, and as Dad gets older, he likes to sit a little bit longer, but actually it was him that initiated the move this time, because I told him when we got there, I was like, we're going to sit right here until 9:30. Like, even if we don't hear any gobbles, I know this turkey's going to show up in this field. And this was probably, I knew at that time it was going to be my last morning to hunt. And so it had gotten to about, I don't know, 7:30, something like that. And I told Dad, I was like, dude, we still have to sit here for like another 2 hours. And he's like, we're not sitting here anymore. So we got up to check other fields, and on our way back to check the secluded field, which would be the same field that you killed yours in and Ashley killed hers in this year, he gobbled. And we're like, okay, we know there's at least one back there. We don't know how many. And so we work our way back there, and we get into position to where we can sneak through the tree line to get to him. And now with as thick as the foliage is, we can sneak a little bit better than what we could. Unfortunately, it was like waist high of like the thistles, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I was able to get the binos on him and see that he was a mature long beard, had a good fan, had a good beard. But I also saw a hen in there with him. And so that hen started kind of working toward the corner. And so I'm like, well, I got to get closer to the corner to cut him off, because he's not going to come into any yelps. He's not gobbling. We tried to yelp at him to see if he would break and come closer, and he just wouldn't do it. So at this point, we knew that it was either I was going to have to crawl to get him, or we were just going to watch him walk off into the woods with the hen. And so we had made a move, and I had crawled probably 45 yards to the end of the tree line where he was at. And he was 20 yards in front of me, right on the other side of a little hill. So I used this little hill to get closer to him. And this is kind of where it goes back to where I'm staring at this bird so long, and all he's doing is strutting in a circle. He's not moving back and forth. And so I hear Dad start yelping behind me and hoping that it would make enough to break him closer to the tree line. And I thought, you know what? I've sat here and watched this bird for at least 20 minutes now, which felt like an eternity, because I know he's in range. And so I waited for him to spin, and I didn't see any other birds at this point. And I waited for him to spin. And so I gotten up on my knees, and as soon as he came back around, he was 3/4 facing me, but he was still in strut. And I made the rookie mistake of shooting him in the strut. But I had shot, and at 20 yards, Mossberg 835, extra full choke,
should have blew
3.5 inch loads. Like, should be a dead turkey, regardless of how it is.
100%.
And I shoot the turkey drops, and I'm like, hell yeah. And then he gets back up, and he's running straight at me with his wings like this. And I'm like, what is happening? So I shoot again, and he was 15 yards.
It was self-defense.
And yeah, self-defense. Like this turkey's coming to get me. And somehow I missed. I don't know. And then he's So he kind of comes to the left and he's running. He's still up 15 yards, and I shoot for the third time. I'm like, well, I got one more in my gun. I always bring 3 shells thinking I don't need 3 shells, but I'm going to bring 3. And missed. Turkey takes off.
See, that's worse than mine. At least I missed one time.
Well, your turkey flew away. You can't tell me.
Okay, but your turkey, you missed him 3 times.
Correct.
20, 15, and 15.
Okay, but you cannot tell me that if your bird was still there, you would not have taken another shot.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, then what are you talking about right now?
I was semi-auto, so I'd have just let 3 of them go.
But you could, because he flew away. So he didn't give you that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Had you had that opportunity, you wouldn't have done anything different than I would have.
No, but still 20 yards?
Well, yeah.
With an
you're
835?
Right. You're right. Yes, I still hunt with the same shotgun that I hunted with years ago. So we had gone out. I looked for the bird. I thought, there's no way this turkey's not dead. And I've seen all kinds of videos to where somebody kills a turkey, or they shoot a turkey, and it takes off, and then it dies. And we grid searched this whole entire area, and there was no bird. So I ate that one. That one hurt pretty bad.
I bet. End of the season last weekend.
It's not even because I missed the turkey. It's just you have to tell people that you missed. And even though, like, the same thing I told you, like, it happens.
Yeah, but at least yours isn't on perfect, beautiful video.
Mine's not on video at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, truthfully, if I just said I didn't see anything,
no one would know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only one person that would know is me and Dad.
And me.
Dad would have kept that secret for me.
No, he wouldn't.
Yes, he would.
He called me as soon as it happened.
Are you kidding me?
You know, I promise you. He called me and said, your brother just shot at a strutting turkey. And I'm like, no way. Rookie mistake.
Well, because see, like, I enjoy being out there, and I enjoy seeing other people kill birds. And I mean, honestly, I could care less if I filled a tag. To me, it's not that I didn't fill a tag. To me, it's that mainly because I had to have wounded that bird. Like, I mean, obviously it's fine. It was running away. Like, it's going to live. But just like the bird that Alex shot at, the bird that you ended up killing.
Yeah, that's the crazy part of that story.
So we'll leave it.
Yeah, we'll leave that one.
It's just it was crazy. So our season's over now. This was on Saturday morning. Season went out Sunday at sunset, and I mean, it's all just as fast as it came. It's gone now.
Yep.
And as much as we love the turkey hunt, and I mean, I'm ready for a break. Like, it was.
Oh, I'm ready for deer season.
I mean,
I'm ready for waterfowl deer.
Yeah. You want to talk about just every day getting
just the grind.
Well,
because grinding it out and everything.
Yeah.
It just.
Because with my job, I get up at 2 a.m. every day. And so from the opening day of turkey season to Sunday of last week, there was not a morning in between that I didn't wake up past 3 a.m.
That is true. I am happy to be able to sleep in.
It's like, I am thrilled to be able. I mean, I'm going to miss it next week, but I don't know. It's always a bittersweet time for me because, like I said, I don't like hunting late season. I don't like feeling like I'm deer hunting. Like, I like to run and gun. I like to move, and if they're not gobbling, they're hard to move on unless you get eyes on them.
Exactly.
So I'm just an impatient hunter. Impatient. That's why I like deer hunting. It's not my most favorite thing to do in the world.
Because you have to sit in the stand.
Well, I have to sit in the stand, and I just get bored. You know, you can only watch the same squirrel for so long. You know. Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll get a little excitement. You know, a coyote come running through or something. And I mean, last year was good for me. I had a lot of good opportunities. But so moving on to the big moment here. Your bird this year. It was.
That was probably one of my top 10 hunts. Well, top 3, I would say. It was just so crazy how it all played in together.
Yeah, and it's so like I wasn't there. So okay, so Friday morning we went out. Yes. It was just me, you, and Dad.
Yep.
And we had set up the mosquitoes.
That was the worst part. My face, my hands.
The mosquitoes, man, were terrible. People probably think, okay, so when I was leaning forward.
Oh no!
Because I had the camera and I had the big lens on because my plan was to take a lot of pictures. I'm wanting to get pictures. I spent all season filming and I wanted to get photos, and And so the way that I had my camera set up was I had the tripod, I had the big lens on, and I didn't have a tree behind me. So I had nothing to actually rest up against. And so when I would sit back, then I'd have to lean forward. And when I leaned forward, then like this much above my pant line in the back was showing. And every freaking mosquito in the woods found that little gap. And people probably think I'm dirty.
Oh, 100%.
Because I'm scratching back there all the
100%.
time because I had mosquito bites.
I felt dirty.
But it was
entire
like,
face.
I don't care who's watching. Like, I've got to scratch these things.
That was terrible.
Like
Hands, face,
oh, it
legs,
was terrible.
ankles.
It was so bad. And I mean, but it was productive in a way, you know.
Yeah, but miserable at the same time.
It was. But had we not spent that time being miserable, you probably would not have killed your bird.
No.
Yeah. So we got set up, and I'm filming these turkeys. They're across the field at this point, and they made their way close to us.
I think within about 100 yards, I would say. It was pretty close.
And then that double beard that we had seen, I thought he was going to come in.
He was really
But
weird.
He was weird. Like it was, you had the bird that Zane would eventually kill, and then you had this double beard,
Which was bigger.
which was bigger.
Like, thickness-wise on
Yeah.
the beard, it was bigger, but I don't know length-wise yet.
But he would go into strut. He strutted probably 2 times an entire morning
Yeah.
because I don't know, the other longbeard strut the whole time.
Yeah, it strutted the entire
So,
time. It was crazy.
I mean, obviously there's a pecking order there.
We found out why. We did find out why after I killed that bird.
We did. So we'd sent Zane around, and the plan was the new plan was that Dad and I were going to stay back and we were going to watch these birds. And I was filming the whole time, just filming these birds, and the goal was that we were just going to hear a gunshot and turkey was going to flop, and I was going to get video, pictures, everything of all that. Obviously never happened. They stayed right there by that wood pile for like an hour.
Yeah, I ended up getting close.
Yeah.
I got within 15 yards, 10,
Yep.
15 yards of the bird, but through all that thick stuff. And then all of a sudden he started working the opposite direction, and he was following his hens.
Yeah.
So I ended up sneaking around again, and he just disappeared. I don't know how the turkey did it. He just disappeared out of the field.
Yeah.
All the birds did.
Yeah.
And we know we didn't spook them.
And keep in mind, like, Dad and I are watching these birds, but we can't communicate with Zane because I'm not real sure. I think there's a law that says you can't do that. Like you can't use. I don't know.
think you can. I don't know what the law would be with that.
I don't know.
Because I know you can't use walkie-talkies.
You can't use walkie-talkies, and
But it
there's
might
like a
be
gray
all
area.
electronics.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is, and if we're not sure what it is, we don't do it.
Yeah, that would
So
suck.
yeah. So we're watching this bird, and we know exactly what this turkey's doing, but Zane can't see it, and so we have no clue where Zane's at. So we're just like, okay, how far did he make it? Is he in range? Turns out you were well within range.
I just couldn't get a shot, and I tried to hit the call real slight. He gobbled in my face at like 10, 15 yards.
Which we figured that's when we figured you yelped because we saw him, because it was so weird because we could see him gobble, but we couldn't hear him. At that distance, there was one time where he gobbled and we heard it. And then he gobbled again and we couldn't hear it. Like the only reason we knew he gobbled was because we could see it.
Yeah. That was crazy though to have him that close. I heard every single
I'll bet you did.
every note that he hit.
Yeah.
I heard it. But no, he just ended up walking off. Couldn't get a shot through all that thick stuff. So that was another beautiful day.
Yeah.
Sunny, beautiful, other than the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
But that was like a textbook sneak up on a turkey and shoot it.
Yeah, it was. So let's talk about how Friday's encounter, led to the game plan going into Saturday morning.
So Friday, when we watched those birds, we seen them work off into the corner of the woods, kind of like that secluded field where your birds were working.
Yep.
And we kind of went back, sat down, talked, and tried to figure out a game plan for the next morning because we knew those birds were going to be in that same exact spot.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to sit a little bit closer to where they came to that first day. That Friday.
How close did you get to that? Would you sit next to that, kind of down from that wood pile, or?
Yeah, I mean, we just went straight down to our left into that corner.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it wasn't,
I'm with you.
It's kind of where they were working to.
Yep.
Actually, where Alex missed the bird.
Yep. Gotcha.
So then that's where we decided to sit. We're like, okay, we'll sit here. Hopefully they'll work this way again. If not, we can make a move. Because it's a beautiful river bottom that we can sneak down. So it's real simple to get to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got out there that morning, heard them gobbling. They sounded like they were all across the river. And then didn't see anything for a while. And then all of a sudden the hens came out. And then ended up those two longbeards came out. And that double beard did the same thing he did. It almost seemed like he was coming our way. But then he never strutted.
Kind of veered off.
Never gobbled.
Did you have the decoys out?
Yeah, we had the decoys out. We got set up in this little brush pile.
Did you have the Jake out?
I did have the Jake decoy out.
I almost wonder if...
I'm wondering if it's not intimidating.
Well, because that secluded field, it rolls. There's hills.
Yeah.
And so I almost wonder if he can't necessarily see the decoys very well.
I would think so, because that Friday, they were right on the edge of that hill that came down to us.
That's true.
And they just didn't want nothing to do with us. But they had, 6 hens with them?
There's so many hens out there. Like, it's crazy. The fact that we killed 3 birds off of that property.
And there were still plenty.
Oh.
That was crazy.
Yeah, well, when I shot at mine, Dad was watching a completely different turkey.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
And then when I shot, a third longbeard popped up out of nowhere. So we have those 3 longbeards. I don't think any of those birds are the ones that I was watching that had been visiting that field at 9:30. So that makes a 4th one. And then I had those 3 Jakes show up.
It's gonna be crazy.
So this is 4, 5, 6, 7, and then that mature Jake that we had seen. I mean, that's 8 birds after we killed.
And then plus you got to count the hens too. Yeah, they're gonna have Jakes.
So there was 10 birds, 10 male birds there this year.
And that's not counting the gobbles.
Yeah, because we heard so many more gobbles.
Elsewhere on the property that we didn't even lay eyes on the birds.
Yeah,
that's kind of like the morning after I killed my bird. We seen 2 different longbeards in separate fields. So there's just so many birds out there, which is a great area.
Well, when you think about and look at the habitat that they've got. They've got the river right there. They've got all the food they can think of. There's 3 different types of fields all within that area. You got the tree lines everywhere. I mean, you got that that swampy, wooded area. It's just the habitat for turkeys there is insane. I mean, the high ridges, the low bowls, it's crazy. But so let's go back to where. When you guys set up, like was the initial game plan the plan that killed this bird, or
no?
Because you got a lot of intel. We got a lot of intel on these birds on Friday.
Yeah,
and which can kind of you can plan for it, but turkeys will be turkeys.
Yeah,
and they will do something totally different. Yep. They could be. I mean, there's a time this year where they've roosted in the same tree 3 days in a row, and then you go to set up 80 yards from that tree, thinking done deal, and they gobble on the other side of the property.
Yeah, that is true.
So
the game plan. I mean, really, the game plan was to go out there, set up the decoys, and let them do their thing again. Because like on that Friday, they came into that corner, close enough to the corner, and typically, if you get hens close enough to you, one of the hens will get curious, come in, check out the decoys.
Yes. Yep.
Or the longbeard's gonna be like, okay, there's another hen right there. I want her. So then he breaks off, comes into the Jake decoy, strutter decoy, whatever. And that soon changed. After those birds entered the field, they didn't want anything to do with us.
Yeah.
The bird I ended up killing, he gobbled. We tried the last flight call.
And it was raining.
It was raining.
That's a big key to this whole thing.
Yeah, it was a good rain.
It was raining good.
So that was the hardest part because we made those covers for the last flight calls, right? And so it kept it dry. Well, as soon as we pulled it out, we had a break in the weather for about 15 minutes, and we were able to hit it, and he gobbled to it, but he wouldn't move. He just stayed with the hens. So then once that got wet, slate call. If they get wet.
But we have a weatherproof striker.
I know. I need to try it. I need to figure out if it's going to work.
It does, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, we soaked a slate call and it didn't clean the water off, didn't clean nothing off. We soaked it and the striker, and it just played like there was no water at all.
So where can I get one of these?
So they're here. You can literally buy them on the website. I mean, it's not going to do us any good this year, but for next year, definitely. 100%
I'm going to have one of
But that's when you pop in one of those, the last flight diaphragms.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
We ended up putting one of those in and just kind of pretty much threw that idea out the window too. Once we would call at him, he didn't want nothing to do. Wouldn't even gobble anymore. just because he was fed up. He knew where we were. He didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's when it all changed. That's when, like you said, Dad's like, well, got to make a move.
Right,
I think
right.
he just likes to sit there and
Yeah.
just have that anticipation of when's that shot coming.
Yeah.
And then that's when I ended up making that 300-yard crawl. I would walk down the riverbank, down this river bottom. I'd get up, and there's like a little hill, and it's real thick. I would crawl up it on my belly, look out in the field, no bird. So then I'd crawl back down, sneak down. I knew kind of where they were at, but it's so hard when you get down there in that thick stuff because you lose track of where you're at.
Yeah.
Ended up doing that 3 more times, and the third time I crawled up on this hill, and I seen him out there, and he had 6 hens with him, and he ended up, I seen the hens kind of working towards the corner. He was working right at me, and I was thinking, okay, he's going to come right to us, but I seen the hens walking down, and I knew the day before on that Friday, this is the great intel we got from Friday, is he's going to follow those hens. Kind of know it, but every now and again, the Tom will stay in one spot like we've seen on Friday a couple times.
Yep.
The hens would come back.
Yep.
But I just had a gut feeling like, hey, I got to follow the hens. I got to cut the hens off. So I got down on the riverbank, and I didn't think they were moving that quick.
That was thunder.
Oh, wow. Anyway,
kind of scared me.
Yeah, it did. But I ended up getting down, sneaking down the riverbank. I didn't know they were moving that quick until I crawled up again, almost in that corner. And I just see this hen walking right at me. And I'm like, oh, no. Like, I'm already on my stomach, so I can't move. She's at probably 10 yards. She ends up, like, standing there just watching me for a while. And I'm just sitting there saying, like, come on, get going. Because I need to get up to this edge. I have no shot. And I end up crawling up to the edge of the woods, let the hen walk off in the corner. Here comes another one. And now all of these hens are 5 yards in front of me on the edge of this field. And it was just crazy because I couldn't move.
Right.
So I got up to this wood pile, and I had the gun, the new gun I just got. It's another 835. I kind of followed the tradition, bought an 835. And this gun
Did you feel more confident?
I did.
Okay.
But that gun went through so much in those 2 days of me hunting with it. That was the first 2 days I've ever hunted with it.
Oh, yeah.
And both days, I crawled 300 yards for a turkey.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I've literally dropped mine in mud. I've dropped it in a creek. I've dropped it everywhere and picked it up, and it fires every time.
That's not good, but
It's not.
American made, I guess. But no, it was downpouring. So the whole time I'm crawling, I'm soaked. I'm covered in mud. I just look like I went through war for this bird. And finally he comes up in front of me, and he's strutting, gets to about 20 yards. The hens are all staring at me. I don't know if they seen the gun on the log or what they seen. And I did the little shake with my gun because my red dot shut off.
Oh, yeah.
The red dot came back on, and I'm like, okay, next time he sticks his head up, I'm going to shoot him. Look down the barrel, and I have no red dot. It all the rain on it scattered my red dot.
Oh, shoot.
So you can still see the bead on that gun. So I just kind of remembered where the red dot was and kind of used the bead.
Yeah.
And the rest was history. I shot, and it looked like a truck hit him. I mean, it was pretty impressive. But yeah, he just dropped. And the crazy thing is, none of the birds left the field.
And that's been the story really for the entire year. Like,
Exactly.
every bird that's been killed, like the other bird, are just like, what the heck was that?
Yep. And then you just kind of, I kind of laid there because we've seen it all year this year. We have seen the birds just stay in the field.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of crazy to me because it's like, that's a loud bang, and they're just standing there.
Yeah.
Our dad was standing down the field from me about where we set up at. So it was like a good 300, 350 yards. Mm-hmm. And he ended up having the double beard that was in the field with that other Tom at 40 yards, standing, just looking around. And
After you shot, during the whole thing?
During the whole thing. So after I crawled all the way around, that bird circled the field and came about 40 yards from the decoys.
Holy smokes.
And he said after I shot my bird, that bird hit the ground, started flopping. The hens kind of jumped up, just walked off to the side. He said that double beard turned and started bolting for my bird. Ended up coming right at me, running for that turkey.
Did you see him?
I couldn't see him because I'm tucked in the woods.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know what turned him away. I don't know if all those hens kind of went into the woods and he just kind of veered off. But he said as soon as that bird started flopping, that double beard was running at me. That
Really?
would have been crazy. Because I don't know how I would have needed to film that. I mean, but I couldn't film anything because of the rain.
Yeah,
And that's the worst part.
Yeah.
But it was super cool hunt. I couldn't have asked for anything better. I mean, like you said, we've been hunting with our dad, and he kind of gave us all the birds, all the deer, and everything. But getting out there in the field, grabbing my bird, and then looking down over there, and I see him with his hands up in the air, it just kind of chokes you up because you're like,
cool, man.
You're like, there's no other feeling like it.
Yeah.
And just seeing him with his hands up kind of choked me up. I'm like,
yeah,
I've killed turkeys before. Like, this isn't anything different. But yeah, it just kind of chokes you up to see your dad out there with his hands in the air and then being able to share that moment. It's
special because, you know, with a guy that puts so much time and effort into his kids, you know, and has really sacrificed so much, you know.
Yeah.
We didn't have, you know, back when I was a kid, we didn't have turkeys like we have turkeys now. So we had to pack up and we had to drive to Southern Ohio. But Dad had so much going on at the time, like we weren't able to just, you know, pack up and leave. You know, Dad had 3 other kids that he had to worry about. And so we would get up at, you know, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we would drive south. We would hunt till noon, and then we would drive back home. And then he would spend the rest of the day doing whatever it is that he needed to do. But he was going to make sure that we had the opportunity to hunt turkeys. And that
100%.
is, and I think some of my most favorite memories are with Dad in the turkey woods, and especially now with all of us. You know,
with all of us, just him sleeping, taking videos, messing with them. Yeah.
And then so now, like that, I have kids, especially, you know, Bryson's 5. He killed his first bird this year. Braylee's killed birds. She's not allowed to kill Jake's anymore because she's already killed a longbeard. I have a pretty strict rule that once you've killed a longbeard, you're no longer a rookie. And you can no longer shoot Jake's, and she wouldn't anyway. I think she's got that mentality, you know, that she's been around us long enough to know that, you know,
she's coming for the family record.
That's what she's doing. She had it. She had it for a day.
Then Ashley took it, and then I blew everybody out of the water.
You took it.
Yeah,
yes.
it was all right.
Yeah, but so your bird's spurs explains a lot.
Yeah, I picked it up, and I was like, wow, okay. So I pulled out a tape measure that I keep in my vest, just for scenarios like that. Like when I kill a bird, I'm really interested to see what his spurs are.
Yeah.
And they came out to 1.5 inches. And I'm like, no wonder that bird was not gobbling.
It all makes sense.
He wasn't
now.
strutting. Yeah, he was getting beat up. It was crazy. The bird ended up being 23 pounds, 11 3/4 inch beard, and 1.5 inch spurs. And then half of his beard was dry rotted off.
Yeah.
Well, like beard rotted off.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. He would have been thick. The beard would have been thick. But
yeah. You know, and looking back on this season, and I think that's what I enjoy the most. And that's why I don't necessarily go out to fill a tag. I like the memories that are created during turkey season. And I think that's what I like the most about it, is the ability and the time spent with friends and family in the woods. You know, there's a lot of firsts that happened this year. You know, Dad killed his first Ohio bird that I've ever seen. You know, we watched him kill that North Carolina bird. But that was the first Ohio bird that I've ever seen.
I didn't get to see that. I was out hunting.
You didn't.
I was out hunting with a buddy that day.
And I filmed it, and I mean, you were able to watch it that way. But then, you know, Bryson being 5, he kills his first bird.
Yeah, that phone call was the best thing.
That was the craziest thing.
That phone call just made my day.
he was on top of the world. He had to take his turkey feather to school, show everybody.
What a redneck.
Yeah, I know. Braylee didn't get a bird this year. She had the opportunities to go, but she's kind of getting to that age to where she likes her sleep. She's a lot like her mom in that way, that she likes her sleep. So if she doesn't get the adequate amount of sleep that she feels that she needs, then she's not going turkey hunting.
Yeah, I don't know how that. Why don't we have that mentality?
I don't know. I wish I honestly wish I did at times, because I'm like, there's times where I'm just absolutely drained.
Oh yeah.
To where I get sick. I get so drained, and that happened this year for sure. But yeah, it's really cool to, you know, be able to get out and do stuff together, you know, as a family and friends and things. You know, Alex's bird. You know, Alex.
Yeah, that part of the story too.
Yeah.
Completely forgot about that, but.
Yeah,
Alex went out with you guys, right?
Yep.
Did about the same thing.
He pretty much did the same thing, but opposite. We started.
Yeah, opposite way.
Yeah, we started on the end that you killed your bird on, and he crawled to the other end, because the birds were And the Tom did the same thing. He strut the whole time with all of his hens, never broke strut. And Alex crawled all the way over there, and I had just got done talking to him, and we had got around to where we thought that we could potentially make a move on the bird, but in the process, we ended up bumping some deer out of the timber, and so they were out in the field looking at us. And so Alex is like, well, what do you think we should do? And I'm like, well, we're going to sit right here for a minute, and we're going to let things calm down, and we're going to see what these birds do, and if we potentially could make a move on them, we will. But right now, we're just going to chill. And I'm watching these birds through the binos, and I go to turn and tell him that like everything's calming down, like the deer are walking off, and he's gone. And I'm like, where is this guy at? And then so next thing you know, we hear the shot, we see the birds fly off and everything else. And then I get this phone call from Zane after he had killed his bird, and go into your discoveries on your bird.
Yeah, so we were cleaning it, just getting it breasted out and stuff like that, and there was pellets, like bird shot, in the breast. There was a little bit of like where it went in, it was turning green a little bit.
Yeah.
But there was pellets in the breast and in the back of the bird. And I sat there and I'm like, no way this new turkey gun I just got with the full choke, everything like that at 20 yards was opening up that much, because I patterned it before I went out. Then I remembered that Alex shot at a bird 3 times. And it was doing the exact same thing.
He was.
And that's just crazy to me that I ended up taking that bird out, which is awesome, because who knows what could happen.
It's fun to poke fun at Alex, too.
It is awesome.
You know.
I called him and I said, hey, I finished a job you started and you couldn't finish. And he was like, are you serious? Yeah. So it was cool. I mean, it's a story. Like you said, great memories. Being able to look back, I mean, even though we got ate alive by mosquitoes, it was still a fun morning because we were joking around.
But that's something we'll talk about forever. Hey, remember that one year when the mosquitoes basically carried us off?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily a good memory.
It's not a good memory.
It's a memory nonetheless.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I think that's probably going to wrap this episode up. We've been on here for quite a while.
Track.
So, but before I do, I kind of want to talk about that. It brought up a good point with the weather and the slates, and and what we have. Definitely something to keep in mind for next year is we have the it's either called the all weather, the weatherproof striker, and it will literally play with the slates covered in water, whether it be the slate or whatever it is, it'll play. It's kind of remarkable, actually. And then what it actually does is, because of the material that's on the end of the slate that makes it that waterproof, it will actually form to your strike sequence. So you're not always trying to find that. Like, I know sometimes there's a certain part of the striker that I like to use. And sometimes it takes me, I have to spin it a little bit to find that certain spot. This will form to it, so it'll automatically put your striker where you normally would put it. And those are on the website. And there was one other thing that I want to talk about, and I can't remember where it is now. Completely lost it.
Been looking down the barrel too long.
I know, all over the place. But yeah, I think, this is what it was. Duh. If you have a awesome turkey hunting experience from this year, like a story that you want to tell, let us know. Send us a message, and then we'll chat with you a little bit, and we'll see about maybe getting you on the show to tell your story. So, but yeah, if you have an incredible story, just something that really stands out, an experience, maybe it be a kid or whatever it might be, send us a message, let us know, and then we'll try to get you on the podcast here. So, Zane, do you have anything before we close this thing out?
Not really. I mean, turkey season's done, or I'd say good luck, but I mean,
it's here and gone.
It's here and gone. It goes by quick. Only a month.
It's crazy, man.
Well, northeast Ohio's still in.
Yeah.
They still got a good chunk left, but
yeah. All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate you coming in today. It's probably 45 minutes to an hour drive for you here.
Yeah. That's what it was.
You look tired. We're both tired.
I got off work and then jumped in the truck, came up
Same
here.
here, man. But we appreciate you coming on, telling your stories, and
It was fun.
We'll have to get you back on here with Mac and hang out with us too.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
That guy's a trip.
he is something else, man. But I mean, he's put so much freaking work in this year,
and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see how everything's turned out.
You know, and I know we were going to close this out, but there's something I want to bring up about Matt is that, you know, sometimes when you have that creative mind that Matt has, it's kind of remarkable to see the idea of where it started to where it is now, and then the process in which he thinks and then he operates. It's pretty incredible. And to be, you know, working for Last Flight and being here at the shop and seeing this all go down, it has been so freaking cool to see the prototypes that we received and then turn into something completely better, like in all ways. I mean, when you're talking about a guy that's in here throwing these pot calls across the shop,
that was
just
crazy.
to make sure they're not going to break, they're not going to chip. You know, it's absolutely wild. And he's gone through every avenue. He's talked to so many turkey hunters and people to get really good advice. And I think that's one of the biggest things is, like, you know, when you're trying to build something that is as good as these calls, like being able to take constructive criticism is huge. And so he's been able to, you know, talk to these people and then get their feedback and just make it the absolute best pot call that you can buy. I mean, there's literally no better pot call in the market. There's nothing that's the full acrylic like it is. There's nothing that is so precise, you know, even to the amount of gap between the slate and the acrylic. I mean, it's all down to within tenths, and every one is the same. It's incredible. But that's what we'll do. Next time you come in, we'll have Matt come in and we'll do a show with him, and then we'll just talk about the whole process of the pot call build. It's really pretty cool to hear. You know, it's still cool for me, and I'm here watching it. But it's so much cooler for someone that has actually operated it, and it's like, I wonder how they actually do this.
Yeah, no.
And
being able to see some of the things that's went into it, it is crazy.
Yeah, and to be able to hear the amount of work that went into it is crazy. But all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I appreciate you tuning in. Zane, thanks for coming, buddy.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I mean, talk about our misses.
Yeah, for sure. It's turkey hunting.
We're real people.
That's turkey hunting. But all right, guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Appreciate it. See you later.